This is 2020, a 3 National News presentation.
Hello, I'm Janet McIntyre.
I'm Melanie Reid.
I'm Keith Davis.
And I'm Louise Wallace. Tonight on 2020.
I've only got 2 E's in my name.
A little boy who juggles primary school and university with apparent ease.
Plus, ... plus 8, 2n, xn.
When did you first start learning maths?
I think I was about 4.5, I think.
If you think he might be a little bit young to be here, consider this. Michael Tan passed bursary maths at the age of 6.
After our first lecture, I enjoyed the first lecture so much, I came home and started doing some work and I couldn't stop.
Here was the menace, HIV, the virus that causes AIDS.
I'm confident enough that HIV, no matter how, couldn't possibly cause AIDS.
So what causes AIDS? The government would say HIV, and after 9 years of research, it is still promising the world a vaccine.
They still don't know how this virus works inside our bodies. They still don't know how this disease progresses.
You have a disease, you identify the cause, you identify a treatment, and you get a vaccine for it.
Many police officers will tell you when you first put on that uniform, it's a magical moment. It gives you a feeling of power.
But these days, it may surprise you that too often the person you think is an officer isn't.
He said that was 2020. Is that the man from 2020 you were just talking to?
Actually, I'm the man from 2020, dressed up as a cop.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh.
We eventually found a police impersonator who was willing to talk about why he did it.
It became an obsession. It became an obsession. That thrill, that adrenaline just flowed in the excitement.
Thanks for joining us. Those stories and more tonight on 2020. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, or so the saying goes. But how true is it? Take the case of 8-year-old Michael Tan. The Christchurch youngster is off to university at the age of 8 and loving every minute of it. Michael Tan comes from a family which has consistently stunned the academic world with its achievements. But the Tans insist that most children could do the same if they were given the encouragement and skills to cope. But is it that simple? Melanie Reid reports on the Tan factor.
Let's do an example and solve.
A crowded lecture theatre at Canterbury University. In a sea of faces, one stands out. 8-year-old Michael Tan. Barely big enough to see over the desk.
Plus A12, X2, plus ...
If you think he might be a little bit young to be here, consider this. Michael Tan passed bursary maths at the age of 6.
Plus ... plus 8, 2n, xn.
When did you first start learning maths?
I think I was about 4.5, I think.
That's pretty young.
Yes.
And what do you think first made you really interested in it?
Well, I suppose I was introduced to it quite early, so it sort of got my brain stimulated.
It's now 127.
Much of that early stimulation came from Michael's father.
Is that easy now?
50-year-old Chun Tan.
Can you remember? No. 5 take away 9. Is that enough?
No.
No. So what do you do?
Malaysian-born Chun is exuberant, eccentric, probably a genius, and certainly a man with a teaching style all of his own.
186. Take away 69. Big numbers, are they? Now, 6 take away 9. Is that enough for you to do it? No.
No.
So what do? You borrow 1.
Why are you able to get so many young children to become outstanding mathematicians?
I suppose I just teach them as well as I can. I have no fixed theory or anything, but I just fly by the seat of my pants and just basically have the enthusiasm and the conviction to share with them what little I do know.
Is there a secret?
No. If there was... No, there isn't. To be honest, there isn't. That's all.
You hesitated a little bit.
Well, I was going to say, well, if there is, let's somebody patent it and put some money in my pocket.
Chun and Rosemary Tan are modest people. They refuse to accept that their family is gifted.
But the academic achievements of their two other children, Audrey and David, defies any other description.
David, what age were you when you passed university entrance maths?
That was 1977, so I would have been 10.
And what age did you go to university?
I went full-time after the third form, so I was, that was the year I turned 14.
And when did you complete your degree?
My BSc in maths, 3 years later, so I was 16.
And then you went on and you got a PhD in electrical engineering. What age were you then?
I finished that when I was 20.
Now 25, David is at Cambridge University working on space research. His 18-year-old sister Audrey has just returned from studying at the Australian National University in Canberra.
When I left school, I was 10 years old, and that year I sat and passed QE Maths. And when I was 11, I enrolled by correspondence with Massey University, and I took 1 or 2 papers a year. And when I was 15, I enrolled for full-time study at the University of Canterbury, and I've just come out with my BSc Honours degree in Maths.
And how old were you then?
I was 17.
Now it's the turn of the youngest Tan.
I've only got 2 E's in my name.
A little boy who juggles primary school and university with apparent ease.
When you've got 16.26, what would be the logical way to...
Given a choice of continuing his studies at home with Dad or going to school, Michael Tan decided to try school.
Just put 16.2.
He now attends Island Primary 5 days a week. But when it comes time for maths lessons, he walks out the gates with his mother Rosemary and heads down the road to university. It's enrolment day 1993, and Michael and his mother are here to sign up. Both are planning to do the same course.
Thank you. If you like to go to S1, okay, that's straight ahead and up those stairs. Okay, thanks.
Master Tan, how are you this morning? Do take a seat.
Michael, what course have you enrolled to do?
Maths 105.
And what does that involve?
It's first year at university, and I'll be attending 4 lectures a week throughout the university year.
But this is no brave new world for Michael Tan. Last year at age 7, he attended lectures on an informal basis. His first day created so much interest that young Michael held his own media conference.
Well, I'm a lot younger and not as tall as all the others, so in the crowd I'm not so used to.
And with more poise than a politician, Michael diplomatically announces he won't be sitting exams this time round.
We just don't want the stress because it takes a lot of work to sit the exam.
Any variable that doesn't correspond to a leading one is a free variable.
This year, a more experienced Michael Tan will sit the exam along with all the other students.
N minus M, which is greater than 0.
After our first lecture, I enjoyed the first lecture so much, I came home and started doing some work and I couldn't stop.
How long did that go on for?
Oh, about 3 hours.
How much time do you spend doing maths?
About 2-3 hours a day, and sometimes a bit more.
What is it that you like about maths?
The challenge, and it gives me something to do as well. Otherwise I get bored.
Just how keen is he to go to lectures?
Oh, he's dead keen. I can still remember the first time he had to miss a lecture. It was when he was quite sick. He had a really high temperature. And I'd kept him in bed all day, and by about, we had a lecture at 2 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock, he tottered out of bed and says, "Mum, we've got to get ready to go to lectures." I said, "You're not going anywhere." And he burst out crying because he didn't want to miss his lecture. And so those are the indications for me that he is keen and that he wants to go, not that we are pushing him to go.
Suspicion that the Tan children are being pushed has always surrounded the family. When David came to Canterbury University as a shy 14-year-old in the early 80s, a group of psychologists was set up to ensure that his academic pursuits weren't going to turn him into some sort of social misfit. In the end, they adjudged that David was a normal, well-balanced young man. Audrey and Michael have been spared the same analysis, but in a community where the tall poppy syndrome is still alive and well, the suspicion of parental pushing is hard to shake. A lot of people would say, though, that you must have pushed your children.
Yes, I do understand that, and I do understand that, and I admit possibly I pushed them up to a certain, no more than when David was playing soccer, and the way I saw some of our own teammates yelling at their own children or the other side to score a goal. I don't think it's any worse than that.
Were you made to do it?
Oh no, not at all. In fact, it was always me who would ask to be shown something else, just out of curiosity.
There must have been a good side and a bad side to being academic at such a young age.
Why?
Was there not a downside of being so academically successful at such a young age?
I can't think of one.
How do you react then when people say, those Tan children, they must have been deprived of their childhood?
Well, they're wrong.
What happens if you get sick of doing maths with your dad?
I take a break and maybe go outside and play a game of tennis or something like that.
And Michael Tan plays a pretty good game of tennis. This year, he was invited to join the under-10 Canterbury squad. He's also a promising cricketer. In fact, any ideas that the Tan kids are a bunch of eggheads concerned only with mathematics couldn't be further from the truth. David actually gave up maths for a year due to his love of soccer. Making the Canterbury under-12 side remains as one of his most cherished achievements.
Audrey's talent is not.
In the case of Audrey, her great passion is ballet.
I'm always told to smile.
Audrey, how important was ballet to you as a young girl?
Oh, it was very important to me. I practically lived for it back then. You know, everything centred around ballet. I just loved it that much.
Could you have made it a career?
People say that I could have, yes.
You've chosen the life of being a mathematician over the glamour of being a ballerina. Why?
Well, in the end, ballet wasn't as much fun as the maths was.
That simply?
Yes.
Support for their children in whatever they're doing has always been the top priority for the Tans. In this household, the talents of a musician are as valued as those of a mathematician.
We've never made a big thing of the achievements. Michael didn't realise that he was doing anything different from other children until he was 6 years old. There was an article about gifted children, and he was on the front cover of this magazine. And he came to me and asked me, "What does gifted mean, Mum?" And at that stage I had to explain to him that he was doing mathematics a wee bit advanced of other children. And he took the explanation and went away and didn't think any more about it.
What do you think about people labelling your children gifted?
I feel embarrassed. We've never sort of treated them as gifted. It's their interest in mathematics is just a hobby that they've enjoyed with their dad.
Which one's this number?
If there's a secret to Chun Tan's teaching, it is that somehow he manages to make a subject that most of us think is dry and boring into something that's interesting and fun.
See? So if it's tea, you take tea. Good.
These days, Chun Tan is in demand as a private tutor.
I suppose he has the special ability to teach. I think he's been teaching all his life. And he tells me that when he was young and at school, whoever happened to be his best friend will come second to him in the class, because he always used to help them and teach them. And he has this love for teaching. He has a special ability, I'm quite sure of that.
His teaching techniques are really extremely effective. I know of several other students who have gone to him. Well, they've seen quite startling changes in their grades in mathematics and their understanding and their liking for the subject. So his methods of teaching are really very, very sound.
Dr. Peter Reno is head of Canterbury University's Maths Department and an unabashed fan of the Tans. He doesn't expect that 8-year-old Michael will have any problems passing the end-of-year exam.
Is it not a bit ridiculous, though, that you've got an 8-year-old sitting in a maths lecture surrounded by people that are 3 times his age?
Oh yes, it looks quite ludicrous. You have to be careful not to tread on him. He's just tiny. Yes, I imagine it looks really odd. But when you consider that we are really interested in their mathematical education, he is as well prepared as most of them, so that he fits in quite naturally.
Your mum tells me that you actually help her with her university maths when she gets stuck.
Yes, sometimes there's some hard problems that she doesn't understand, and then I come home and explain to her.
You've been called gifted. What do you think about that?
Well, it's nice, but my mum and dad say that they don't like the word.
It's a bit funny, isn't it?
Yes, and everybody's good at something.
You've had all 3 of the Tan children at university. How clever are they?
They are very clever. They are really quite exceptional children, all 3 of them. They are really a very gifted family.
Are they geniuses?
I'll wait. Ask me that question in 10 years for the older 2 and in 20 for Michael, and I'll tell you then.
What would you like to do when you grow up?
Oh, I'd like to be a medical scientist. Yeah, and maybe work in a hospital or something like that.
And the Tans' reputation as brilliant mathematicians is now international. Audrey Tan is currently considering scholarship offers from 3 of the world's top universities.
University entrance mathematics was achieved by David when he was 11. While still a 3rd former, he won a university bursary and gained straight A's in 6 subjects. Canterbury University has had 19-year-old graduates in the past, but David Tan's Bachelor of Science honours degree at 16 is going to take a bit of topping. To add to the superlatives, David's degree comes after just 2 years of full-time university, and his marks, some of the highest of the past decade for a final year honours student.
Well, he's the only student who's ever come to the university at anything like the age he started at, 14 years old. And he's graduated at 16, which is the age that our bright boys usually start the university.
What sort of opens up for him from here on?
Well, he'll go into research. He's already starting to think about what problems he will work on, probably in applied math. And after he's done a PhD, he will get a job doing research in some organisation in the world, either a university or a government laboratory or something along those lines.
So he looks like reaching that stage, what, by the age of 20?
He should be finished about 19 or 20, yes.
Possibly the most exciting result from this year's university examinations was from Canterbury. 16-year-old David Tan discovered yesterday that he's gained first-class honours in mathematics, the youngest person to obtain a degree in New Zealand history. David and his family were naturally thrilled, but not entirely surprised because, as Alison Parr reports, the Tans have always regarded academic ability as nothing extraordinary.
It's estimated that 1 in every 20 children is gifted, but he or she possesses well above average intellectual ability. Educators argue long and hard about whether gifted children are born with their ability or have it nurtured. But a Christchurch couple come down firmly on one side of that debate.
Learning can be fun, it's not a chore, and there's fascination in mathematics.
I'm happy to be able to reassure you. Please let me reassure you that I'm not pushing.
I think, to me, being well-adjusted and enjoying life is perhaps more important than just being academically good.
Audrey Tan goes to ballet lessons like many other little 8-year-old girls, but she has another particular ability. Because of special attention, she's proving exceptionally talented in a field foreign to most other children her age.
Number A. Find the rate of change of y with respect to x when x equals 4. Y dash equals 2x into x minus 3.
Good. Plus?
Audrey Tan was enrolled this year to sit UE Maths. Under her engineer father's teaching, she scored 100% in a school cert maths assignment. This 8-year-old can even explain differential calculus.
She equals 2.
Excellent. Good.
Number 2. 10.
Yeah, give it a go. Even if it's wrong, doesn't matter.
A.
Good.
10B.
Plus 10B. No worries.
What sort of stage book is this?
This is a sixth form book. The sort of current standard copy for it. I find it's most useful and the best book for it. So I use this as the sort of staple book, supplemented occasionally. You show Alison what
yes, how does that work? Because if we go right back to the beginning there, I might understand.
Right, n, you bring forward to make n times a, which is NA.
So you're multiplying n by a?
Yes.
Yep, right.
And you keep that x. Now you subtract 1. But when you've got a letter, you can't subtract anything. So you just put n minus 1.
Just minus 1. I see. So what you're doing is just taking that formula and putting it to these figures.
Yes.
Oh, I see. And now, you showed me how we did that there, but can you can just look at 3/4 times 4, for example, and work it out in your head without putting that down on paper like that now, can you?
Yes. I just sort of imagine it just being there, and I think, now that has to cancel, and it just leaves the 3.
Right. How long have you been able to do that for?
I don't know, really.
Thank you.
We're going to move into some work with maths. Miss Shaw will work.
Audrey Tan goes to her local school. She's in the same class as other children her age. In any classroom, teachers find a range of abilities. Part of the task of teaching is to accommodate each child. No easy job when 32 young, eager minds all vie for attention at once. Like other primary classes, Audrey's is sometimes divided into groups for some subjects.
What number's that? James?
120.
That's right. How many 10s are there in 120?
Yes, and it is...
In maths, the children in this class work at different levels, one group slightly more advanced than the other. The teacher, Mr. Vince Barr, believes the other children accept Audrey as a normal part of the class. He sets her special work in maths and gives her what time he
You
can.
work right down here to number 18. Now, you won't get anywhere near finished there. There's no rush to get through it, but see if you can follow the instructions and use this board here to help you. Now, if you get into difficulty, what are you going to do? Thank you very much. She's very much more studious than some other children. She takes her work much more seriously. I believe the Tans have very high expectations for Audrey, and they work in a specialised way with her. And we do everything we can to extend her as far as we can, as we do with every other child in the class.
How much time can you give her individually, though?
That's an awkward one. I have to plan special programs for her in mathematics. The planning takes a lot of extra time, but actually in the classroom I can only give her the time that I would give anyone else. And that amounts to about 1/32 of any hour that I have with the children.
You're enrolled to sit university entrance maths. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel that it won't be that nice at first because I'll be a lot shorter than all the other people, and so I'll just sort of be completely lost. 3 hours I think might be a wee bit long for me at the moment because at school from 9 to 12 we do get a bit of interval, so the 15 minutes can make a big difference, I think.
We come from Mars.
Now that's the crunch line, so you can't really say, we come from Mars. You've got to really say something to capture the audience's attention there at the last line. Go, say that again.
Us? We come from Mars.
The Tans believe it's important that Audrey's social education should be normal. At school, she does feel at home. Despite her abilities, she insists she doesn't get bored.
Will you your own trainer? No, I enjoy school. I've got lots of people to talk to. There's lots of playgrounds to play in. And I quite enjoy it.
At home, Audrey Tan is not alone in her ability. A couple of years ago, there was news of a 14-year-old boy who enrolled at university. That was David Tan, Audrey's brother. Now at 16, he's just completed an honours degree in maths, ability which he says was nurtured initially by one-to-one teaching at home.
In our family, we start talking about mathematics at a very early age, and it just becomes like another language or something where it just becomes natural when you just think about it naturally after a while. It's not a topic which only starts when we're 5 years old at school.
David Tan refuses to think of himself as special. For that reason, he wouldn't be filmed in an interview. His mother recalls their surprise when he took to maths so readily.
Only when his father started teaching him the maths and he started picking it up so quickly, we thought perhaps he was capable of doing a bit more than he was doing at the time.
So at about 7.5, I thought, well, look, I might be able to teach him at the school cert match, which is about 15 years. So I would say 7 years of teaching to do with him, work happily with him. But fortunately, or by accident, it amazed me, he leapt most of it up within a year.
David passed university entrance maths at the age of 10. Since then, the way to his honours degree has been unwavering. His delight in mathematics has been with him from an early age.
I was always interested with patterns with numbers and numbers themselves right from very little. I've just always been fascinated by them. I think my mother brought books home and things like that, or car number plates if they read the same backwards, or something like that, or house number plates, telephone numbers. The results that I see now are just as fascinating as just looking for number patterns. I still enjoy seeing the results and how they come about. I hope that people like me because of my personality, rather than just because I'm good at something and I'm just a normal person. I've got 2 arms and 2 legs and I just live like anybody else. It's just that when it comes to maths, I'm a bit ahead of everyone else. It doesn't really make any difference.
David says many of his friends are just as talented as he is, that he considers his personality a more important part of him than his academic ability. That humility and character are things which his mother has nurtured quite deliberately.
I consider it very important for him to be a useful member of society, and it would make me very sad if he was arrogant with his abilities. I think humility is a very important quality to have, and it's something I've tried to instill into him right from young, that his abilities are a gift and he's not to abuse those gifts. In fact, he's to use them in a helpful way to other people rather than sort of feel he's anybody grand.
Next hot becomes...
It's not only their own children who benefit from the Tan's philosophy. Most evenings, Chun Tan tutors small groups of school pupils. Some come for special help with exams, others because they've lost confidence with maths and their parents believe individual attention can help them regain it. Chun Tan feels that many children have the ability to achieve more, to enjoy learning.
But the answer, children and adults, everybody's got much more potential than we want to, but we wouldn't want to force it all out of them or anything. But if they are happy to learn, we must make it available and facilitate and make it easy for them to be able to, you know, get helped.
I don't think we try to put too much emphasis on where you get in the class or whether you pass or fail. It's more teaching the children that there's things to discover in learning, the sheer enjoyment of finding out things.
David and Audrey are very close, although they both have their own friends. Their parents have been questioned in the past about taking them too far, too fast. Both their mother and father are aware of the dangers of pushing the children beyond their years, of depriving them of a normal childhood.
Can I tell you of one clear case where, in fact, I'm still very proud. After David did his UE Maths in 1977, he enrolled for UE Physics. And by June, when he got selected for the under-11 soccer rep team, his dad, I'd rather concentrate on the soccer. And if I was pushy, you must at least realize it was a heart-rending thing to say, look, you can stop. But I did stop it, and I'm very proud of it.
Have you at any stage had any fears about taking them as far as they can go?
I had my worries with David at first. I thought he might become very lopsided and just become an illiterate mathematician. But since he has succeeded with the bursary examinations, I feel a lot better and feel that he can take an interest in Shakespeare for other people, and he enjoys it as much as I do when we watch a play on TV.
Audrey enjoys being with other children as much as she enjoys her maths. Since she was 5, the lessons at home have been part of her life. And when she's reluctant to sit down with the books, it would seem she says so.
Yes, because I get very tired sometimes. Sometimes it's not the right time and I'm not in the mood. There are different times when I do want to do it and I don't want to do it.
And what happens if you don't want to do it?
Oh, well, I just tell Dad and he'll let me off. And sometimes he would ask me again later on, or he'd just leave it for the day.
Audrey's talent is not confined to numbers. She takes music lessons and, as well, spends a lot of time at what appears to be her first love, dancing.
Audrey, I don't think, has the same enthusiasm or feel for the mathematics as David has. Her main interest in the arts, the music and the ballet, and she seems to think more of that than she does of the mathematics. Whereas David used to think numbers and notice number patterns and things like that.
That wouldn't have been in there, he was running. That would have been...
Chun Tan is aware that people looking at his children's achievements will attribute some of their diligence to the fact they're Chinese. This he dismisses as racist. He believes that David's achievements could be shared by many other children if individual attention helped them reach their potential. He rejects any stereotype of himself or his family.
Yes, the Chinese do work very hard, but in a way, I'm as lazy as any average person. So it's just that in this case, it's not because I'm Chinese, but that I love learning and I love teaching. It's a pleasure to me. It's my recreation and my hobby.
While Chun Tan is the driving force behind his children's academic progress, their mother is there too, sometimes tutoring, but always attempting to meet their emotional needs. In her son particularly, she sees more impressive qualities than his ability with mathematics.
I love him for his devotion to his sister. He's a very thoughtful boy. He's very considerate, and he has a lovely sense of humour. We have good times together. we can always laugh at ourselves.
A lot of parents looking at the abilities of your two children would be quite overwhelmed by them. Do you see your children as special?
No, I don't. They are very ordinary children, and I'm sure I just feel about them as any other mother would feel about their children. I think other children have the same potential. I think all babies, if you look at them, I think the potential is there in every child, and it's just a matter of perhaps providing the environment for that potential to be brought out.
Audrey did not sit UE Maths this year, but with 80% marks in her assignments, no one's doubting her ability. David now looks to the future as the youngest New Zealander to get a university degree. Meanwhile, the family insists that these two children are really nothing special. Audrey Tan goes to ballet lessons like many other little 8-year-old girls, but she has another particular ability. Because of special attention, she's proving exceptionally talented in a field foreign